Ahlan and welcome to lesson number 2 in Access Arabic's Let's Learn Arabic course. Today we'll be focusing on definitude, that is the state of definite and indefinite words. If this is your first time joining us, somewhere on the screen you should see a link for the first episodes of the course if you would like to view them too. And before we start, I'd just like to ask you to like, comment and subscribe for YouTube's algorithm, so then more people can see the video and benefit from it, inshallah. So today's lesson objectives are to learn how to make words definite, and it's also to learn the vocabulary provided. So this means today is the first time we'll be learning new words, and because of that we'll also be going through some comprehension exercises and knowledge tests, and inshallah by the end of this lesson you should be able to translate some words. As I said, Arabic is very easy and this lesson should inshallah prove it to you. So we will be starting with the indefinite particle. This is because generally most words are indefinite. As we mentioned in the previous lesson, an indefinite word is one that is not specific. If you have forgotten the definitions, it's not a problem. You should see a link attached for the previous lesson. We will proceed now. If a noun ends in a tanween, it is usually indefinite. Remember, a tanween is when we have two fathas, two dhammas, or two kasras. Well, to be specific, here is two dhammas, two fathas and two kasras. This is usually indicative of indefiniteness. Therefore, if a noun ends in tanween, it is usually indefinite. And as we said, a noun is an ism. So just to recap, what does this mean? If an ism ends in tanween, it is usually indefinite. This is because the tanween is grammatically regarded as a harf tankir, an indefinite particle. You don't have to remember this. If you like to remember it, by all means you can, but you don't have to. But what you do need to remember is words that end in tanween are usually translated with a or an in English. So for example, the word rajulun, rajulun, as you can see here, it has the tanween and therefore it is indefinite, and this means it would be translated as a man. And this brings us to the definite particle. If a noun begins with the letters alif and lam, also known as the lam at-ta'rif, it is definite. This type of word is grammatically known as al-mu'arraf bil-lam, and in English this alif lam is generally translated as the. So in the example above we have ar-rajulu, the man, as opposed to the rajulun, a man, in the previous example. So as you can see here, the alif lam is translated as the instead of a, because in the second example, rajulun, as you can see here, it has the tanween, and as we've said, tanween acts as harf tankir, indicating that the word is indefinite. Therefore it will be translated as a man instead of the man. It's also important to remember when alif lam is prefixed to a noun with tanween, the tanween drops, and we need to learn this because the aim of this course is to learn to read Arabic and understand Arabic without these vowel markings. So this brings us to a quick recap. So we mentioned in previous lessons that ma'rifa equals definite and nakira equals indefinite. In today's lesson, we mentioned that the tanween, which is when you have two fathas, two kasras, or two dhammas, is on a noun. It indicates that the noun is indefinite, and therefore this tanween is generally translated as the letter a or an in English. We also mentioned that nouns, if a noun has the letters alif and lam on them, it is definite and it is read as the is translated as the. So as you can see, the is definite, whereas a or an is indefinite. For example, the book. Al-Kitab refers to a specific book, as opposed to just Kitabun, which refers to a book. A book can refer to any book in the world, as opposed to the book refers to a specific book. We also mentioned, and it is important to remember, that when alif lam here is attached to a noun, this tanween drops. Therefore, it is important to remember that the natural state, the general state of nouns, is that they have tanween, because nouns are generally indefinite. However, if alif lam of ta'rif is attached, the tanween drops. So this means the key takeaway, the main thing that you should learn from this lesson is that if alif lam is attached to a noun, so if alif lam is attached to a noun, and remember we said that nouns are isms, tanween drops. So that's one, the tanween drops. Two, the noun becomes definite. Therefore, likewise, the opposite applies. If a noun does not have alif lam on it, it will usually have a tanween on it, right? And tanween indicates that the word is indefinite. Tanween is translated as a, and the alif lam is translated as the. Everything else will become much clearer in the exercises that we will now do, because the actual learning section of this lesson is now complete. Now it's time for the exercises. So we made it through the lesson, and now now it's time to learn some words. Can't learn languages without learning words, right? So when it comes to learning vocabulary, everyone will have their own way of learning. I can't tell you how to learn, because we all have our own ways. Personally, I would advise having a notepad wherein you jot words down. So every time you come across a new word, you write it down. But the only way to learn vocabulary at the end of the day is to practice it, to read, to make sentences and whatnot, which will inshallah become much easier for you. So what I will do is I will read the words and their translation, and I would advise you to pause the video and write them down and try and learn the words. So I will begin now. Insanun. Insanun means man. Baytun. Baytun means house. Tamrun. Tamrun means dates, as in the fruits. Thamarun. Thamarun means fruit. Jahilun. Jahilun means ignorant. Karimun. Karimun means noble or generous person. Labanun. Labanun means milk. Ma'un. Ma'un means water. Naharun. Naharun means day. Waladun. Waladun means boy. Hirrun. Hirrun means cat. Yawmun. Yawmun means day. So as you can see here, Yawm and Nahar both mean day. Yawm generally refers to the daytime, as the day as a whole, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and whatnot. Whereas nahar generally refers to the actual daytime. Wa means and aw means or. Alimun refers to a learned person or a scholar. Hasanun means something that's good or beautiful. Khubzun means bread. Darsun means lesson, as in class lesson, like this. Rasulun means messenger. Zakatun refers to the zakah. Sahlun is easy, an easy thing. Shay'un means thing. Salatun means prayer, the salah. Daw'un means light. Tayyibun means good or clean, depending on context. Zalimun means oppressor. Adilun means just. Ghafurun means one who forgives. Fasiqun means transgressor. Qabihun means ugly. So I would advise you to pause and rewind this specific section so you can write these words down and learn these words. And now this brings us to a translation exercise. What I would like you to do is translate the words, bearing in mind the difference between translating words that have the alif lam and words that have the tanween. So what I would implore you to do is you pause this video now and you go through the translation exercises, and I will also translate them. So the best thing to do is you do it by yourself and then come back to this video to check if your translations were right. So we will now proceed with my translations. Al-Baytu means the house. So as you can see here, can you see it's got the alif lam? This means the tanween, which would have been on this word by default, has dropped. And because it has the alif lam, that's why I translated it as the house. If this alif lam was not here, the word would have been baytun. As you can see, has the tanween, which indicates the word is indefinite. But I added that the alif lam is added, therefore the word became definite, and the tanween drops. So baytun turned into al-bayt. So al-bayt is the house. Ath-thamaru is the fruit. As-salatu was-zakatu is the prayer and the zakah. Khubzun wa laban is bread and milk. Bread and milk. Salihun aw fasiq is a salih is a righteous person. So salih aw fasiq is a righteous person or a transgressor. As you can see here, because there's no alif lam, fasiq and salih are translated as a righteous person and a transgressor, as opposed to the, because it's indefinite and it's referring to any people. Al-hasanu aw al-qabih is the beautiful and the ugly. It can also metaphorically mean the good and the bad. Al-ma'u wal-khubzu, the water and the bread. The water and the bread. At-tamaru wal-laban, the dates and the milk. Jahilun wa alimun, so an ignorant person. Remember, no alif lam, and there's tanween, so it's translated as an ignorant person and a knowledgeable person. Al-insanu wal-faras, man and the horse. So in this specific context, al-insan is literally the man, but generally refers to mankind. So in English, it's translated as man and horse. But you can also translate it as the man and the horse. That's perfectly fine. Darusun wa kitabun, a lesson and a book. Al-adilu aw al-zalimu, the just person or the oppressor. Jamalun wa farasun, Jamal is a camel, so camel and horse. This next exercise requires you to translate from English to Arabic. So I would advise you to pause now and answer these questions yourself, translate them yourself, and then compare them with my translations. So I will now proceed with my translation. So a horse is farasun. As you can see, it's a horse. It's indefinite and referring to one horse. Therefore, it's translated as farasun with the tanween. A man is rajulun. Once again, it is indefinite, therefore it has the tanween. So a man and a horse. This is rajulun wa, excuse this mistake, farasun. So this would be rajulun wa farasun. Bread and water is khubzun wa laban. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to put the markings on, because as you are learning, of course, it is a good idea to put the markings on. But the only way to get used to reading without the harakat, without the markings, is to read and write without the markings. So because you've already translated these yourself, and because I'm reading them to you with the markings, I will not write the markings. A man and a fruit and a house. This is rajulun wa thamarun wa baytun. So rajulun wa thamarun wa baytun. The salah and the learned man. So this is as-salatu wal alim. Can you see here? Because it says the salah, it is definite, therefore alif lam is added. This also means the tanweens will drop. So as-salatu wal alimu, the pious one and the transgressor. This would be as-salihu والفاسق. So if we were to put the markings on it, it would be الصالح والفاسق, because it is definite, the and the, we've added the alif lams. The man or the horse. So number 8 is الرجل أو الفرس, the man or the horse. Number 9, the milk and the bread, is اللبن والخبز. اللبن والخبز. A man and a horse is رجل وفرس. I'm running out of page and space on the screen here. The ugly one and the beautiful one will be الحسن والقبيح. الحسن والقبيح. A cat and a boy will be الهر oh sorry, that's my mistake here. It's a cat, isn't it? So it's هر وولد. هر وولد. The moon and the sun is القمر. In fact, to make it a bit more clearer, I'll put it here. القمر والشمس. القمر والشمس. The camel or the horse is الجمل أو الفرس. الجمل أو الفرس. So what I would implore you to do is to check your answers with mine. And this now just brings us to a quick test. Once again, I would advise you to pause at this stage and check your answers with mine. So the first question, what is the definition of kalima? As we said, kalima refers to a word. So a word is kalima, kalima is word. How many types of words are there? We said there are 3 types of words in Arabic. Ism, fi'l, and harf. An ism is a tenseless word, generally translated as noun. A fi'l is a verb, an action word, a doing word. It is restricted by one of the 3 tenses, past, present, and future. And harf is a particle. The meaning of a harf is not clear, or it's not unlocked unless it's used in conjunction with an ism or a fi'l. So it asks for the definition of each one with examples. So example of an ism is fine if you do in English or Arabic for the time being. The example of an ism is a book. Example of a fi'l is to sit. An example of a harf is in, as in the milk is in the fridge. As you can see, in by itself has no meaning. I had to use it with ism and fi'l to make sense. The milk, well, in this specific case there's no fi'l, but you get what I mean. The milk is in the fridge. So what's the major difference between a noun and a verb? As we said, a noun is not restricted by tense. So ism equals no tense, it is tenseless. And a verb, which is a fi'l, equals restricted by tense. How many tenses are there? There are 3. Past, present, future. So from the following words, state whether the words are ism, fi'l or harf. Huwa is an ism. Min is a harf. Daraba and yadhabu are both fi'ls. Baladun is an ism. Al-faras is an ism. Ila is a harf. And sam'a is an ism. Huwa is a pronoun. It means he. It can also mean it, depending on context. Min is a harf. Generally it means from. Daraba is a verb meaning he hit. Yadhabu is a verb meaning he is going. You don't have to worry about learning the definitions of verbs for the time being because we have not covered them ourselves. Baladun is an ism meaning country or land. Al-farasu, as we've said and already translated, means the horse. Ila is a harf meaning to, generally means to, like I'm going to the shop. Ana adhab ila dukkan or ana dhahibun ila dukkan. Sam' means hearing. So define what is ma'rifah and nakira with examples. As we've said, ma'rifah means definite and nakira means indefinite. So examples can be any of the examples we've already used, such as faras. Farasun is indefinite. Al-farasu is definite. Remember, we can make indefinite nouns, we can make nakira nouns definite by adding alif lam generally. As a rule of thumb, this applies. How many types of ism ma'rifah are there? We glossed over this before. You don't have to learn it for the time being, but there are 7 types. And say whether the following words are definite or indefinite. Unfortunately, you can't see one of them because of the camera, so we will leave that for the time being. But Makkah is a city. So is it definite or indefinite? Makkah refers to a specific city, right? Therefore, it is definite. Baladun, as I've said, means country. A country. So think about it for a second. A country. Which country am I referring to? We do not know. I could be referring to any country. Therefore, it is indefinite. And even if we weren't able to work out that a country refers to any country, what is the other way to tell? As you can see here, it has tanween, and tanween on an ism means it is indefinite. It's also worth noting, we will learn this properly later on, but verbs, fi'ls and harfs, they do not take tanween. Tanween is a symbol of a noun. Rajulun, once again, rajulun, man, it is indefinite. At-tayyibu, the good or the clean. Generally, at-tayyib means a good person. At-tayyib, think about it, it's got alif lam, right? And it's got no tanween. Most importantly, because it has the alif lam, this means it's a definite word. At-tayyibu. Nahnu. Nahnu is a pronoun meaning we. Therefore, it is definite. All pronouns are definite. We refers to a specific group of people. Al-farasu is definite. The horse. Alif lam. Therefore, it is definite. Hasanun is indefinite. It has no alif lam and it also has tanween. Therefore, it is indefinite. Qabihun. Once again, it has tanween on it. Therefore, it is indefinite. Hadha is definite. This is a ismul ishara. It's a demonstrative pronoun. We will learn what these are in future lessons. I've glossed over them in one of the previous lessons, which will be attached if you would like to view this, but you don't have to learn things like ismul ishara and ad-dama'ir right now. We will learn them in future lessons properly, inshallah. But that brings us to the end of the lessons and the end of the exercises and the test. And if you followed it properly, you will have seen how easy it is to translate. So honestly, you should give yourself a metaphorical pat on the back. But alhamdulillah, as we have seen, Arabic is very easy to understand and translate. We've learned around 34 new vocabulary today in this class, so I would definitely recommend that you revise them. Generally, it's generally said that in order to achieve proficiency and fluency in a language, you should learn around 10,000 words. Because of the nature of Arabic, we will learn this later, but Arabic is generally developed and based off foundational verbs. Because of this, it means in order to learn fluent Arabic, you generally maybe need to know around 5,000 words, or maybe even 4,000 verbs, because with these you can make 20, 30, 40,000 words, possibly even more, just because of how the language works. Therefore, alhamdulillah, Arabic is a very easy and simple language to learn. Already today, it's only the second lesson in and we've been doing translation exercises. So think about future lessons, inshallah, how many translations and whatnot that we'll be able to do. But enough of me mumbling on. In the next lesson, we will look at compounds, how to form compounds. We will once again learn new vocabulary and perform an exercise drill. Alhamdulillah, this is the first step, hopefully, in a long journey for you into learning Arabic or revising Arabic, and I look forward to see what comes, inshallah. I'll let you go now. I'll see you on the other side. Ma'a salama. I just wanted to mention, if there's anything that I've not mentioned or I've not explained properly, or you've struggled to understand, by all means just drop a comment and I'll get back to you, inshallah, and I'll explain it to you properly. And of course, I'd just like to ask you to like, comment and subscribe to the videos, so inshallah more people can access the videos too and benefit. Now I will go.